welcome to episode 198 of the Talking Wednesday podcast. It's Dex and Worker with you today. Yes. I've got a little pug behind me. That's a dog, and I've just said hello and woke her up, and she was very startled. But yes, I'm on audio only today because I'm away for a couple of days. But to be honest, by the time you're watching this podcast, I'll be back. So nothing on your end. Jack appears to be giggling. There's a good sort of second of latency between me and Jack today, so that's going to be fun. We're not talking over each other, audio listeners. Don't get angry with us. We're not being rude. It's just the way that latency works. But Jack, you're giggling like a little I'm just like a little child there. How are you?
I'm giggling so much because obviously it's audio only on Discord as well, and you'll see this in the edits later on for the behind the scenes interested people. But I was just sat there like doing a really funny like awkward grin, you know, like news presenters always do when it's like, and now to so and so at so and so reporting live, and then they stand there awkwardly staring at the camera for ages and then start talking. So I was just sat there like awkwardly grinning at the camera for ages before I heard you go, "Hello and welcome to this episode." So that's why I'm giggling so much. You're gonna put that in there, aren't you? There's like an extended intro, and it's just me sat there like awkwardly grinning at the camera.
Yeah, probably. That's probably how it's going to work. Yeah. But now, how's your week been, mate?
It's been all right. Just kind of, it feels like a bit of a limp to the finish of 2024. Kind of, I don't know. There's certain things that I set at the start of the year that I didn't really kind of actually plan out how to get there, and then I'm now sort of like retroactively going, "You absolute tool. Why were you not kind of going about certain things in a really organized way?" I was just sort of like ad hocing everything this year. And so I'm like planning things for next year and all that sort of stuff. And yeah. But
it's hard to be a planner.
I'm all right, I think. Yeah.
Wanting to get certain things done and actually follow through on that.
I don't know. Yeah. How about you? How's your week been?
Where are we? God, it's that time of year where I can't tell my arse from my elbow. It's yeah, I wasn't very well at the start of the week. Then I got vaguely better, and now I feel like I've got a cold coming on. But I can deal with the cold. Cold's fine.
Yeah.
If there was any audio issues at the start of this, by the way, guys, I've put my headphones in now, so I've sorted it. You might have heard Jack going back, and then I realised I'm using a handheld. So. Yeah. My gate will not. I'm used to my gate because I don't even use headphones at home anymore. You know, because the gate's so good on the system that I just have you guys playing through the speakers, but quiet, and you can't tell. But unfortunately, you will be able to tell with this. But yeah, it's been all right. This is just for you all to know. This is going to be the last podcast episode before the Christmas break, in terms of where we take that little break for Christmas. When I say that, though, it doesn't mean we're not going to be doing podcasts. We will have a podcast for you on Christmas Eve. I always try and put a podcast out on Christmas Eve for the people that either don't celebrate or don't have too many people around at Christmas or something, because one thing I hate is when you get that little bit of Christmas lull where you're like, well, I've got nothing to do for a couple of hours. So having a podcast is always good there. We're going to be recording all of that this week before we take a little break, and then we should be back. There won't be a podcast in the new year like there usually is. We usually have a podcast about, I think we do a New Year's Day podcast or something sometimes at the start of the window. Yeah. But we won't be doing that this year. There might be an extra to fill the gap, so just leave that one with us. There will be a draft update in there, but we're going to do an extended draft update because we missed the last one, because I just thought let's just roll it into the next one, which we might make available for everybody as well. So then that might be a good idea, actually. We'll make the draft update available for members when it's made, and then maybe on New Year's Day or something we'll make it available for everyone, so there's something from us that week. And then hopefully we'll be back to regular programming about the 6th of January we're looking at. So, yeah. That's just some housekeeping on that end. But yeah, I feel like I haven't spoken to you in ages, Jack.
I mean, I kind of went into hermit mode for a while and was just very like, I don't know, concentrating just on me, like not the live, laugh, love Fiat 500.
I'm working on myself.
Not any of that.
No, it's just funny because last time I was talking to you as well, you mentioned you started a skincare routine as well. Yeah. So like now you've just gone from skincare routine to working on myself.
Well, I've started taking a supplement. And this is not any sort of trend. I'm not doing a steroid cycle at the gym or anything like that. It's a mushroom supplement called ashwagandha that's meant to help naturally with a lot of balancing of your cortisol and stopping you from overthinking so much and helping you focus. And I've actually been finding that that's been really helping with all of that. So that's my latest, like, the Joe Rogan experience advice sort of thing that I've been taking. That's not a Fiat 500 skincare routine.
You are honestly so funny, like not in a nasty way, Jack, but you genuinely are really funny in terms of like you are the yoga pants live, laugh, love girl.
I mean, with all the alien spottings, apparently, of all these UAPs or whatever they're called, I'm starting to turn into the Joe Rogan experience bloody conspiracy theorist guy. Like, oh my God.
I actually, I do watch that from time to time, but it's usually when it's like Brian Cox is on it or they've got the scientists on it. I find because I just love like astronomy and stuff like that. So if I know there's like a 3-hour podcast with like physicists and astronomers just talking, I'll watch stuff like that because there's not really too much of that outside of documentaries, you know, where people just get their brains picked on stuff like that. So yeah, but I know it got very overtly political the past sort of few months. So I've just been like, I think Brian Cox was on it a couple of months ago, and I was like, this is an interesting one. I'll watch that. But I'm not. I'll be honest, I'm getting kind of tired of American politics being rammed down my throat. I can't go on Twitter now without just seeing Elon Musk spouting a load of crap all the time. And don't get me wrong, I really like what he's doing with space. But like I've said not interested on Twitter in Elon Musk so many times to try and get him off my feed, and it just glitches out. It's like, I get it. You want people to see what you're saying, but don't force us, man.
Yeah. Oh, God. And I've also, as well with space,
AI's everywhere.
It's in some aspects it can be good in helping you form a starting point for something you want to make, and then you branch your own like path from it. That's good. That's a good use of it. It's helpful in that regard. When it's trying to literally steal like artwork or replicate people's voices to then just make you not like have to employ, say, voiceover people or whatever else, that's horrendously bad. But that's, of course, what corporations are trying to go into.
This is this really, really sad. It's probably sad in a certain way, this, but I'm principled in this. I'm coming up with a list, basically. If ever I see an advert where a company uses an AI voiceover to promote a product, like, I blacklist that company. I don't use it. Like
Coca-Cola's the latest one, by the way. They've got their AI, their Christmas advert this year is AI. Yeah.
I think if a company learns from it and goes from the backlash, then fine. But like, for example, I had a Got to Be advert, right? And I used to use some of like their dry shampoo or something or whatever like that. And it was like, it was a produced like video. So they got an actor on the video for it, but the voiceover, they just cheaped out and used an AI voice for like a YouTube advert. And I'm like, nope, gone. Like, pay people. Stop being so cheap that you're using AI. It's not. Do you know what, right? AI is going to be a thing where people who are talentless can start making something vaguely acceptable. But that doesn't mean you made it. A program made it. Yeah. It's useful for shortcuts for people who are actually talented, right?
Yeah.
Do you know, like, if you're making, for example, if I'm writing something and I just need a beat and I can't be asked to program a beat, for years, I've been able to just have like a little drummer that will play sort of like I can set a tempo and they can do sort of like a beat and put a few fills in there. But then when I actually come to tracking it, I'll work with a drummer, will actually structure the drums, will sort it out. I'll write the drums half of the time and actually do it that way. But it's just meant to be a tool. It's not meant to be the finished product. And too many people are using AI now as the finished product. And it's just going to get worse that way. There needs to be legislation on it, especially in the creative fields, in my opinion. But it's annoying.
I mean, like stuff that I want to do. I've got like a load of audiobooky style content planned out for the new year, and so I'm like, I've been using some stuff like ChatGPT to give me literally the visual writing structure. And then I've just filled out the result. Like, you know how it obviously it'll print out all the text on the screen from your prompts that you've given it and all that stuff. So I'll copy and paste that into a Word document and then literally put my stuff for what I'm doing in those fields that it's printed out in terms of the structure of it or whatever. So it's like, you know.
Yeah, no, honestly.
Give me this structure based on the hero's journey concept and all that stuff. And then I've literally filled in all the sections that it's, you know, stuff like that it's great for. But when, like you say, it's using you're literally asking it, create me an audiobook or create me this voice doing these things or whatever, that's when it's really bad. But that's what people are just absolutely going ham over fist creating, or I say creating, asking it to create for them these days. And that's bad.
Well,
that's
whatever
bad.
way
That's
you
very
shape it
bad.
up, it's theft. It is theft.
Oh, yeah.
And what I'm getting especially is in the football content creation place, children are now creating shorts and stuff like that. You can tell they're probably like 12 years old. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're making like content and they're using AI voices because before a kid couldn't make content without you being able to tell they were a kid. But now they can just make these AI voiceover videos that talk about Ronaldo scored this goal and stuff like that, you know, and you're like, you're doing this to build a brand based off theft, but also it's a case of you're a literal child that's going to be interacting with adults in a space, and it's just dangerous, man. I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan at all, and the problem is as well though, the UK has got absolutely practically no creative industry left because it's all just we've got all these big spaces, but we're just renting them out to Hollywood because they don't want to go through the time and effort to actually make things.
It's coming back around to a point where the creative fields are all going to be filled by nepo babies, even more than they already are.
Oh, don't even get me started on that. Oh my God.
But to be honest, I lost the chip on my shoulder about that a long, long time ago because I've met many hardworking people who've worked their way up. However, it's becoming more of a vocation where if you want a creative field, you need to have money behind you because there's the more and more work they take. You know, as a jobbing actor, right? Like, part of your bread and butter is doing the odd voiceover for corporate or something like that just to pay the bills.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't care. If you're a moderately successful TV actor, you need to do some bits for like brands and things over time to sustain your career. However, with AI voicing coming in, it's eliminating that revenue stream for these people. So it's a case of like, there will always be people who go, oh, just get a real job sort of thing. But what you don't realize when you're saying stuff like that is you're getting rid of an industry that actually provides you your free time. What do you do in your free time? Do you play video games? Do you listen to music? Do you watch stuff on TV, right? You're stopping, by having that attitude, you're stopping people from being in that field from backgrounds that don't have money. Basically, it's just going to be the people who can already afford to do it, and I don't like that because it's not going to be based on talent, and it's But anyway, this is a football podcast, believe it or not.
It is.
So
yes.
We should probably talk about football. We've got to talk about the Blackburn game first as we go into the Sheffield Wednesday week of football. Sheffield Wednesday in midweek played Blackburn. what did you think about this performance? Obviously, it was a 1-0 loss, Jack, but how did you feel?
See, I looked at it in the sense of the performance was so much better than it was against Preston. And yet, against Preston, we didn't deserve anything from that game. But then the Blackburn game rolls around, and actually, I think if we'd have got a point from that game, it would have been quite fair. But it was one of those occasions where we were just throwing the kitchen sink at it, and none of our attempts would go in. But then there's a cross from their left winger that nobody could stop, and then sadly Bernard just got totally out-muscled, and it just showed that Blackburn have seriously built on their quality from like the last couple of seasons and have actually made the effort to kick on. And it's, you know what, the Birmingham City owners must be kicking themselves now for getting rid of John Eustace because he wasn't a big brand, because this is what Birmingham could have been doing this year had they kept him, or even last year. And it was that frustrating thing of like everything we were trying to do just wasn't paying off in the end. But I think that it was like symbolic of where we are at the moment in terms of our quality. We are a mid-table side, and I know that's going to ruffle certain fans' feathers because I know that certain fans want us to be winning the league, and you know, how dare Sheffield United be up there and we're not. But yeah, it was just I just thought it was frustrating to not get anything at all from that game. How about you, James? What did you think?
I think that's a fair assessment. It was one of those situations where I felt it was a much better performance, much improved performance based on what we'd seen. I actually streamed this game, and I was saying that I said at the end, we didn't deserve anything out of the Preston game and we got a point. So swap these results around. We probably should have lost the Preston game.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We should have got a point against Blackburn. So in terms of actually points tallied, I think it's fair. If you switch if you see it in that mindset, it's not as bad because we played much better against Blackburn. I don't feel like we deserved to win, but I definitely feel like we deserved a point. And the stats back that up. Yeah. So we had 54% possession to their 45, 16 shots to their 8. Only 4 of ours were on target, though, and that's half the problem. 4 of theirs were on target. We had 4 shots blocked, and they only had 1 blocked. And then we had 26 touches in the box to their 16. So if you're thinking about balls in the box, we just didn't make it happen in terms of the finished product. I always worry when I have to use the word balls when I can't see your face. They committed 12 fouls to our 8. We had 8 corners to their 3. So, yeah, it was one of those games where I feel like we should have got more out of it, but I wasn't throwing all the toys out of the pram. And I said at the time, it's going to be big on Saturday. It's all towards Saturday now. And then we get into Saturday, we play Oxford. I was thinking this could be a very, very, we should have the quality to beat them, but I thought it could be one of those games that's really frustrating because Oxford are always quite physical and a tricky side to play, but it didn't really end up playing out that way. It could have done in the first half, but yeah, Jack, talk to me about Oxford.
It's interesting because they're a similar physical. I think to get out of League One, you need that real massive physicality, and that was actually demonstrated a lot by Derby earlier on, when literally every single Derby player looks like a rugby player. It's insane, and the way that Oxford played was very physical as well. But I think we managed to just have that. That sort of je ne sais quoi, if you like, with the attacking prowess. And I don't think they're very solid defensively. Normally, on a good day, Oxford are quite good at the back, but we just were able to counterbalance that, I guess, with how we were going forwards. I mean, they did have marginally more possession, but it was. I don't know. It was that typical top of mid-table performance from us, I feel.
Well, let's do the breakdown of the game.
Where it's,
because the first half could have gone very differently. So they get a goal on this, in the 17th minute, Greg Lee, and it's one of those situations where I felt it was a poor goal to concede, Jack. It was another one of those situations where a sort of floated ball in, shouldn't really be getting that space to get that sort of goal, but they do, and you think, oh, okay, we've been pegged back here. This is again, if Wednesday you're going to get something away, we're going to have to come from behind.
Yeah.
But we do, the heads don't drop. We do get it with Windass. It's a bit scrappy, but it's a good touch from Windass just to put the ball and not really put the ball in the back of the net, not really a celebration. And he drags the ball back to halfway. Yeah. And then the thing is, though, just before that, there was a chance before that where Beadle has to make a great save, and they could have been two. They could have had two, and then the game starts to slip away from you. There was also a Beadle mistake in there as well. He completely misjudged the run of the ball.
The defense bailed him out.
Two.
Yeah.
But it's also a case of Scarlett didn't adjust his feet quick enough. If he hit that first time, they've got two. So there was signs that defensively we're still lacking in that regard.
Yeah.
But we got away with it. We rode our luck, and then in the second half, we're much better. Jamal Lowe with a nice little a goal, sort of like it sort of falls back, hits the defender, and he sort of does that poacher's snap onto it, gets the second for us. Danny then starts to make some changes that I think are quite inspired, because Oxford tried to have spells to get back into it, but he makes changes that just come in at the right time, and they shift the momentum of the game, and Oxford just can never get a rhythm after that. And then do you even have to say, like, Gassama's goal?
Yeah,
I mean, the goalkeeper probably should have done better, but you can't take anything away from the first time volley into the bottom corner. So I was saying to my mate yesterday, I said, if that man finds some consistency, he's going to make us a lot of money in the future.
That's an interesting thing to talk about, but I think we should save that for after this topic of the actual game, because I can't see us actually selling any of our sellable assets at all, and it's a Chancery thing. But
all right, we'll talk about that
in terms of how we've after
the game.
Yeah. But in terms of like the actual game as well, I've noticed this pattern defensively. Yes, zonal marking is amazing. It's really effective. It's really good at getting the breaks to counter-attack and put pressure on, going forwards again after losing out the ball, whatever. But to do that, you have to have players that have very good football brains. And I don't know how many of our current squad have got that aspect to their game. That, yes, they might be very good and very talented technically and whatever else, but if you actually look at how they've been positionally and how they've not, in so many games this season that's frustrated the hell out of Danny, they've not been running channels like Danny wants. They've not been realizing, oh, I need to press now, or, oh, I need to move here so that player can make a run that's not marked or whatever. They've not been really doing that. They've been very static and not really understanding where they're supposed to be going in certain situations, and that's how we've lost out on the ball, because it's just... They've literally performed like foosball players on the friggin', on those tables. And that's been what's, I think, frustrating. And then if you remember Josh Windass talking about players that he played with in the past for us that have had great football brains. And then, looking back as well, we used to have the likes of like Gary Hooper, Kieran Lee, Adam Reach, so many different players with these football brains. And now, if you look at that in comparison, we've got Josh Windass, Barry Bannon, and maybe Shea Charles with that football brain. Whereas, Masaba, for example, who's got all the potential and all the technical talent, whatever else in the world, he doesn't have that football brain to know, I need to look up when I get in the final third. And, I can't run past these two players that are on me. I better look for a way of passing my way out of this and then doing a 1-2 and make a run here. He doesn't seem to have that. And he was showing that again the last few games. And I think that's the problem as well going forwards, as well as in defence. We don't have those football brains in there to make us do pressing in certain directions and make these decisions to actually make Danny's system work. And I think that's the frustration that we need to get out, especially in defence, because we're just leaking goals. Like, the defenders sometimes are just totally not communicating with one another, and they don't know where they're supposed to be standing and where the person is that's from the opposition that's in their zone that they're marking. It's really frustrating. But I think that's the problem we're missing. It's the mental aspect to it all, you know? Sorry, I feel like I've waffled there a little bit, but...
No, it's all right.
Yeah.
I think with... I get what you're saying about zonal, and I get what you're saying about the players. I think we looked...
Yeah.
Again, I can actually see merit in what you're saying about personnel. I feel like obviously it sounds quite harsh when we're coming off the back of a win, but we have been leaking goals in areas, and I think we looked a lot better when Famio actually this season was in the side because he sort of, I think he got it. I think you could see that it clicked with him. So him and Bernard just seem to be our best pairing in terms of there. But I will say, you're going to concede goals, but I don't like the mentality of us always going behind. But if we come back, that's fine. For me, it's when it comes to being at home. We need more at home. We do decision-making specifically for me. I agree with you when it comes to being up front. We've got to be making the correct decisions to put the ball in the back of the net because that's where it's been costing us this season. I don't think defensively we've been woeful. There's been some goals where you go, oh, we shouldn't have conceded that. But in this system, you're also going to do that though, Jack. If you're a pressing side and you're an attacking side, you're going to leave space for there to be floating balls in and poor goals to concede and things like that. Usually though, if you're an attacking side, the whole thing is you're meant to outscore your opponent, you know, and we get into the position where our XG half the time doesn't match up with our actual goals, you know, our goals scored. Yeah. So, that doesn't take away anything from the performance. It was quite even if you look at the stats against Oxford, which again the scoreline doesn't suggest. So 11 shots for Oxford to our 15. We had 9 on target to their 5, though. It sounds like us the other way around to our usual matches. 52% possession for Oxford to 48 for us. So less on the ball for Wednesday, which is interesting. But yeah, we had 11 corners to their 7 and 1-3-1, which is the stat that matters. Obviously, Will Volk's playing against us again. Always good to see a player that's served the club before. I like Will Volks, but I think it was a very good performance. 5 out of 6 away now as well. Wins.
It's the first time we've won. I think it's 10 away games on the bounce since in the same calendar year since 2006 or something, which is insane.
Cool. That sounds like a radio stat if I've ever heard one. Have you been listening to the radio?
Yes, I have. And also, speaking of listening to the radio, it was quite interesting. There was a bit of a debacle in that game with Josh Windas's equaliser, where one of the pundits was absolutely on everything that is divine and holy itself, that it was an own goal, and was refusing to give it to Josh Windass. And then all the replays showed it clearly was actually a very good little technical thing from Josh Windass to kind of guide the ball into the net. And the backtracking was hilarious.
The thing is, though, you would feel because that's the thing, though. If you're at the ground and you don't have, I assume they probably don't have replays as well, so it's probably quite tricky for them there in that regard. But yeah, let's get into the championship review then. So we're going to go for the Friday and the Saturday fixtures. On Friday, it was Derby 4, Portsmouth 0. So Derby getting a decent result there. Coventry 2, Hull City 1, Bristol City 1, QPR 1, Preston 1, Leeds 1. So Leeds dropping points at Preston. Sheffield United 2, Plymouth 0. Oxford 1, Wednesday 3. Middlesbrough 1, Millwall 0. Swansea 2, Sunderland 3. It's a bit of a interesting matchup. 5 goals in that one. Blackburn 2, Luton Town 0. Luton Town are probably going to get relegated, and I'm sure you're very happy about that, Jack.
Yes, I am, because I had a major falling out with that person that's the Luton Town fan that I know. So that's quite funny. Actually,
God, you don't half air your dirty laundry online, do you?
Oh, it's that this other person's also decided to go and air their dirty laundry online, falsely saying some things about me. So I was like, okay, you know what? I don't care anymore. So there we go. Anyway, yes.
No, fair enough.
Luton Town.
I don't can't argue with that. Stoke City 2, Cardiff City 2, and the day we're actually recording this, but probably won't be seeing it. I'm probably going to put this out tomorrow, actually, on Monday. The day of recording this, Watford, West Brom, and Norwich, Burnley are yet to be played. So how does that leave the table? I can't really tell who's at the top, so I'm just going to skip over that. I'll accept in second.
Remember,
it's
though,
Leeds United on 42 points.
It isn't down to parachute payments. It's not down to the £60 million they spent in the summer on with parachute payments assistance. No. Oh no. It was all bargain basement. Yeah, of course it was, Chris Wilder. Anyway, Leeds United second.
Yep, Sunderland in third on 40 points. Burnley in fourth on 38. Blackburn in fifth on 37. Middlesbrough in 6th on 34. Wednesday on 9th on the table on 29. So if you do your maths there, Wednesday are 5 points off the playoffs again, which is crazy. And I saw a chart, I saw a table against, if you look at where we're performing, the only teams we've struggled against are the teams above us. For once, Wednesday are doing what they should do. We don't do as well against the teams that are up there that we should be struggling with, that, you know, we get mixed results with, but we do get the results against the teams we should be beating. And for years as a Wednesday fan, it's been the exact opposite. So I'll take that. Hull City are rock bottom. That's interesting, isn't it? Shouldn't sack your manager. They were so bold going into this season as well.
You can just tell. You can just tell that whole club's like just got such a problem with like morale and all sorts. It's fallen apart at their place.
That's a shame, isn't it? Plymouth 17 points, Portsmouth 17 points, so they're the bottom three. Then Cardiff just above it, joint with Oxford now after our result on 18 points. So we've if you want to look at it in a negative way, we've put 11 points. 12 points between us and the drop. So.
Nice.
There we go. That's a championship
Just remember
review.
This time last year we were rock bottom. So, you know.
We were indeed.
I'd say this is improvement on last year. We weren't.
There's no news this week, Jack, so I've put some talking points that could kind of be considered as news. So Sam Hutchinson did an interview. He signed a short-term contract with AFC Wimbledon. I don't know if you saw. But I was watching this interview, and he mentioned that he had a falling out with Gary Monk, and that's obviously new information for us. We assumed something was going off, which is why he basically said that he fell out with the manager Gary Monk, and then he went obviously to Cyprus. Was it Cyprus he went, I believe? And then
evening, Andy. Hope you're well this evening. Your favourite manager being spoken
I was
about.
Thinking that as well. And then obviously he came straight back under Darren Moore. So Sam Hutchinson falling out. He also was talking about how much he loved Wednesday, and Wednesday's his club probably as much as Chelsea now because he was here for a long time. But what do you take from the Monk falling out, the information that's been revealed there?
Well, it's quite interesting because there were rumours there was a lot of rumours just after Gary Monk got sacked that it wasn't just Sam Hutchinson that fell out with him. It was quite a significant number of the players that didn't particularly like him, allegedly. And you can actually see, in fact, do you remember Josh Windass was on that? There was like a watch along, and Theo Baker was Theo Baker, the YouTuber. But Josh Windass was the third man on this like panel watch along thing. And Josh Windass's sort of tone of voice when speaking about that time was very similarly alluding to this sort of a thing. But I think that's quite interesting that it's been so directly spoken about by Hutchinson. But then Hutchinson's always been a very like outspoken, very straight talking kind of guy, hasn't he?
I'll never forget Gary. If I'm right in saying, wasn't Gary Monk the person that dropped Westwood?
No, that was Jos. That was Lukai. Yeah.
Jos. Then he ended up dropping him again, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Monk dropped a lot of the very what's name, like influential senior players. It was, but then again, if you remember, there was that interview that Gary Monk did as well. It after like a year after he'd been sacked from Wednesday. He only took the Wednesday job out of spite of, like, in a way to spite Birmingham. And there was no interest really in actually being our manager. It was all just because, this might be a really good attempt at having a dig at Birmingham and you know, digging out Birmingham, and that was it. Like, there was no...
I think it was a good appointment at the time. Monk's stock was all right for where we were, but it just... And we didn't look bad at the beginning under him. I think Windass looked fantastic under the beginning of Monk.
Oh, yeah.
And it just... Yeah, it was around that Christmas period, wasn't it? Everything went wrong. And I just... I like players
like we were top of the league all the way. That I think it was because it was just after Bruce sodded off to Newcastle, which I'm sure, enjoyed making videos out of that, if I remember rightly. But
I didn't enjoy
the absolute fall off, the massive fall off after that Christmas when we were top of the league. Like, we did a Derby County, but it was even worse because we flirted with relegation that season by the end, and it was just, oh my God, it was just horrendous. And I mean, that was part of the whole torrid time or the beginning of the torrid time at Wednesday with all the embargoes and God knows what else. And it was just, oh God.
It wasn't ideal.
What a beige time of being a Wednesday fan. You know what I mean? Just, oh.
It's just nice to have players come out and be refreshingly honest on this. Like, you want to find out these situations, what was going off. A lot of the core are still here, so you don't hear too much of it because obviously they're still professionals within the club. Yeah. But I think this is going to go into the next topic, actually, because we're coming up to 10 years of Chansiri. So I think a lot of these players, when they leave and they're not, I think we'll hear a lot more about the ownership. And I think it's going to take, we're going to hear things in the future. And if any players fancy coming on the podcast, just drop me a DM and we'll, you could even just give anonymous comments and
anonymous submission
very
or
respectfully.
Whatever.
Yeah. But I think we'll hear more in the next few years coming out about players when even players who are here, I think. Currently, I think we'll hear more. But yeah, the reason I say that ties into our next topic and probably our only other topic really for today is, Jack, as we come up to the January window and we come up to a time where Danny Rule, you feel like 6 points off the playoffs. So I don't think we're going for the playoffs, but I think Danny might be in the back of his mind thinking about it. You've got to be as a manager. Are we going to be lacking January ambition to match our managers?
I think, to a certain extent, I don't think so, because I think Chansiri has always been very good at saying, yes, I'm going to do this XYZ, and then sort of going like it's the wish version of XYZ that I've got you instead. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, well, I've promised you a big huge TV screen. It's going to break every 5 minutes because I've actually gone with a really cheap alternative to what most people go with, or something to that effect. But I've still got you this. I've still delivered this. Do you know what I mean? Like, I sort of feel like it's that he's always looking for a loophole with everything. It's both served us in the very good sense, with the 12 points being reduced to 6 in the points deduction a few years ago, but it's also kind of sometimes not served us in such a good way. Like, you know, for example, applying that same logic, can you see us in the event that somebody, maybe not in January, but in the summer, and there's Gassama, for example, who has got a lot of resale value now because of how he's been performing this season and also last season. Say someone came in with like a £10 million bid and said, we want Gassama for £10 million, please. But he's got a percentage sell-on clause in it, and that's how he was brought in for a lesser amount from PSG.
But even if it's a 25% sell-on, right, that's still enough of a profit margin for me to be like, yes, sell him. Because in terms of balance in the books, that's ridiculous fee.
However, remember who we're talking about. Remember the logic that has been applied in the past to certain things. Would
I
the
don't
chairman
think he's
maybe
in a
then
position
turn
to do it
around
anymore
and go,
Jack, because
but would he then go and turn around and go, oh yeah, but 20% of that is going to PSG. I'm not getting 100% of that
I don't think that's as much of a
profit.
problem as people.
So that's bad
I've
logic.
heard this a lot. I think Jake says the same thing, and I'm not trying to put words in Jake's mouth. I don't necessarily buy into it because I feel like we are seeing signs of a significant lack of investment from him compared to what we used to see. Does that mean cash flow is a problem? Does that mean he doesn't have as much money as he used to potentially? And I'm not trying to insult his honour or things like that, but maybe the money he doesn't want to put into the club and he wants investment and that side of it. And if you're going to be that way, then if a bid comes in, I don't care if there's a sell on. If we're making over £5 million
you're making the money
worth
back
of profit
that you spent for him, and then exactly.
Profit. Like it's a case of because you can put a sell on the way out as well.
Yeah,
That's
like we did for Lucas João, I believe. I think it was Lucas João that we had the sell on for. Yeah,
and then he left for free. But it's a case of just make the business decisions, balance the books, and then you can give the manager what they want. You also talk to the manager. Like, if it's a case of, like, if a bid for 5 million came in from Gassama, for Gassama or something, you speak to Danny and go, so we would make 3 from this. Is 3 million enough to replace this player currently for you for the way he is? And if Danny goes, actually, no, he's probably feeling like a £3 million player to me at the minute, a little more, then you stick with him. Because you back the manager and what he wants in that regard. Because to be honest, I think Gassama might be a £3 million player for someone like Danny. If you think about today's market, the fact that he's got a moment of magic in him, he's a more technical player than the likes of Masaba, for example. He's probably outside of Bannon. If you look at Gassama, he's probably our most technical player.
100%.
So I think
it's With the Gassama, it reminds me of, do you remember Jeremy Halan and how everyone was like, oh my god, the immense skill on this lad. That's the feeling I get again when I'm watching Gassama. It's the same sort of like he's ridiculously good at dribbling and his technique is immense and I think that maybe in 2 years he might be the double figures £1 million player, but hopefully we've still got him at that point and then we can maybe sell him on. But
well, I think we've got decent contracts on these lads as well. I think we've done some good recruitment over the past couple of years, and I'm not one for slating Chancellor without giving him credit there. Recruitment over the past couple of years, has been brilliant. Like even the I think the Zisco window, half of it was a bit sketchy, but we started to do quite well, and I think the actual signings that were sketchy were the ones Zisco's wanted, to be honest. But again, they were clever. Like Delgado came in on a year's deal and he's gone. Do you know what I mean? But Paul came from that time and he's becoming a proper player now. Paul Valentin is fufantastic.
He doesn't play like a Spanish fullback, does he? He plays like your typical really charging at players and then crossing the balls in. Like an English or Scottish fullback. He doesn't play like that.
I don't know if I buy into that because we've got so much. We've got so much. What's the word? Nationality isn't as important anymore because it's not multicultural. The world. It's more of a case of talent comes from all over now. So it's based more about. I don't think it's based on where you're from. Look at Bellingham.
Maybe.
Bellingham, if in the old days you wouldn't say he's a typical English player, you would say he's more likened to a Spanish player. But I don't know if the game's evolving to a point where we don't really link. We shouldn't really be. I don't think we should be not saying, "Oh, don't go." Oh, is that a woke thing? I'm not going down that route. But I don't think we necessarily need to tie a style to a country anymore because the Brazilians don't play like the Brazilians used to play. The Spanish don't really play as much. Like they're getting back to it a little bit, but because we've had so much foreign influence on, say, the Premier League and the English leagues, we get players here that play very different ways depending on their team and depending on their manager. So I don't think the nationalities so much is as typical as it used to be in that regard. You get what I'm saying there?
Oh yeah.
But yeah, let's look ahead to the next match. We will be live for this one with the Talking Wednesday watch along. And that will be the last. It won't be a podcast. So, guys, if you are audio listeners, it will kind of be a podcast because we'll be chatting for probably 2 hours. But it will be a watch along for the Stoke City match. It's sort of like our Christmas thing on the 21st. And going into that, they are 18th in the Championship, 13 points at home, 8 points away, 21 points total. What are you feeling about the Stoke City match?
I don't really know how to feel. I don't.
It's
want
at
to
home,
necessarily
which is a
kind
problem
of,
for us. Early kickoff at home. I'm never like them at the minute.
And Stoke are currently 17th, and that means that it's even more of a worry because it's at home against a team not doing so well, and it's like, oh, that's how it was against Preston, and look what happened there. Oh, it was a terrible. Oh, I don't know. Home's been so flat, hasn't it? Like. And yes, I don't want to necessarily call out the fans for it, but the atmosphere at home has been dreadful. And I know that, to be honest, a lot of it is to do with affordability. Like, people just can't afford tickets. It's mental. The other night, there was 37 quid per home ticket and I think that was the cheapest ticket you could get.
It's not I'm actually going to stand on. I'm going to stand on it. It's not the fans' fault.
Yeah.
It's not the fans' fault.
Yeah. But the fans that are there, please be a bit louder. Come on, guys. Yeah.
Well, no, but the thing is, Jack, it's also very I've got to protect you as the host of the podcast because I do feel like I have to. I am slightly responsible for you, Jack. Obviously, you don't go to games that much. I just want to protect you there in the regard of obviously you're not contributing to that atmosphere. However, you are entitled to your opinion. So before you get in the comment section and the hidden filters, don't go for his throat, all right? But it's a case of I just think if it was more affordable on like these early kickoffs, the 21st of December, right? If you did 20 quid tickets, kids for a £5 or something, you'd fill the ground because it's the Saturday before Christmas. Why do we go to the football? That's Christmassy. Some people will have finished work because they'll be given that time, you know.
Yeah,
but we won't. And it's on TV. So it will be flat. And that's what worries me.
And, 700 quid for a season ticket as well. And it's like, oh, yeah, but you could have got the early bird prices. The early bird prices weren't that much cheaper. And it, as in, last in the second half of last season when you could get this season's early bird ones. Like when you're charging that much for tickets and you're basing it on effectively a London price model, not a Sheffield one. Look at the GDP of Sheffield. It's not anywhere near in the same ballpark as it is down south in London. Like, actually make prices representative to the area in which the games are happening in. Don't go, oh yes, well, you know what? They've got these pricings at like Fulham or something because Fulham is full of rich people that like. Sheffield is a very much working class city. A lot of people can't afford these prices. That's why they turn up to the once in a blue moon sort of ticket things. And it's like, it does my head in that nothing changes. And it's like, oh yeah, but well, how do you expect us to make profit and blah, 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 blah. That's what sponsors are for. You don't put all of this on the fans. You get sponsors and other revenue streams to come in and supplement that income so you don't have to charge so much. But there we go. It's just driving people away. Do you want to keep seeing like 3/4 empty stadiums at Hillsborough? No. So stop charging anywhere near as much as you are doing and you'll get people flooding back in again. Sorry, I went on a bit of a rant there, didn't I? But like...
Yeah, you did. Yeah. And breathe. So yeah, then we've got, because we this is an analogy that I'm going to bring it back to something a bit more lighthearted.
Yeah.
We had a chippy open near us in the northeast, right? Northeast. They used boxes for their chips. They had one portion size, and it was 4 quid for a normal, just a portion of chips, right?
Yeah.
If I'm paying 4 quid, right? I'm from near South York. I'm less south. I'm more south, right? But I'm still the north from where I came from, right? If I get a big bag of chips and I'm paying 4 quid, you're paying for the large chips, which is usually a massive amount to feed a family of 6. This is one of those little boxes of chips. Oh, the portion sizes are the same.
Yeah.
They're literally London price fish and chips in the northeast. And I have come this close. I've got a review in the drafts. And I've never done a Google review. But I was this close to going. Review.
Yeah.
Not having it. Not having it. But yes. You just reminded me of that, and I've gone on my soapbox. But yeah, I think it could be flat, but we don't need to analyse it too much because there will be right on this channel. If you're an audio listener, go over to youtube.com/dexteritybox for Stoke City versus Sheffield Wednesday, and we will watch that together, and it'll be the most up-to-date content you get until January, the start of January. So, Jack, before we do wrap up, I've got to say, you've probably heard a snoring pug behind me if I've not managed to get it out of the filter, guys, so I do apologise for that. But have you got anything to say to wrap up today?
What did your snoring pug remind you of our Wembley trip, James? Is that why you were like, oh, Jack, God. Speaking of which, I've got a snoring pug. So, Jack, have you got anything else to say? What are you trying to say, James?
To breathe.
Yeah, it's weird. I have these moments where I don't breathe for like 20 seconds, and then suddenly it's like a, and then you're so welcome for that snoring ASMR. By the way, I really hope that woke some of you up.
I did a really loud. I just started to strategically coughing just to try and wake you up, and it didn't work half the time.
And it didn't work. It didn't work.
Honestly, I was this close to smothering you. Genuinely.
In Minecraft, of course.
I'm not even joking. Like, I was like, oh, he passed away in his sleep. It was unfortunate.
Oh, it was so unfortunate. It was a sudden tragic demise. Just, yeah. Oh.
Right, listen to this. Wembley. I'm gonna put the microphone so the audio listeners can hear it. This is what I've been dealing with without the gate. I mean, you probably can't hear that, Jack, because you're through my headphones. But the audio listeners will very much have heard that snoring of the pug behind me. But yeah,
but no, to actually answer the question, I don't. I don't have anything else to say. Just keep
well, it's
going.
Wonderful to talk to you again.
Have a nice,
we'll be doing that.
Lovely Christmas.
We'll invite you on the watch along this time. I don't think we've done a 3-man watch along for a long time. So,
it's been ages. I think. Yeah.
But stay tuned for all the Talking Wednesday. It possibly was. It was relegation day. It was.
Oh,
it was the end of last season, wasn't it? We did a Soccer Saturday style thing. But yes, that's all I've got for this week's episode of the Talking Wednesday podcast. Take care, guys, and we will see you in the next episode of Talking Wednesday.
Auf Wiedersehen.